What would you do if your twin sister stole your identity and made $180,000 pretending to be you online? The notification that changed everything came at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday in March. I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when I saw it, a message from FitLife Supplements asking why I had posted conflicting workout advice that contradicted their brand guidelines. My stomach dropped because I hadn't posted anything in 6 months. I'm Sienna Martinez, and at 24 I had built what most people would call a dream life. 850,000 Instagram followers hung on my every workout tip and nutrition advice. Brands paid me thousands to promote their products. I was a certified personal trainer with a devoted community who called themselves the Fit Fam, and I had worked 4 years to build this empire from nothing. But 6 months ago I hit a wall. The constant pressure to create content, to look perfect in every photo, to respond to hundreds of comments daily, it all became too much. I was having panic attacks before filming workout videos. I would lie awake at night wondering if my life had any meaning beyond likes and shares. My therapist called it burnout and recommended a complete social media detox. So I handed my phone to my best friend Maya and disappeared. I moved to a cabin in upstate New York, hired an assistant to post generic motivational quotes twice a week, and focused on healing. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again, not the polished version I presented online. The thing about having an identical twin, though, is that people assume you share everything. Scarlett and I looked so similar that even our parents sometimes mixed us up when we were kids. We both had the same dark brown hair, same green eyes, same athletic build from years of gymnastics. The only difference was a small scar above my left eyebrow from falling off my bike at age 7. Growing up, Scarlett always seemed to resent our similarities. While I embraced fitness and built my social media presence, she pursued acting in Los Angeles. She would call me every few weeks, usually when she was between auditions or needed money, complaining about how unfair the industry was. She couldn't understand why casting directors passed her over when she was just as talented as other actresses. Our relationship had always been complicated. Mom would constantly compare us, asking why Scarlett couldn't be more focused like me or why I couldn't be more creative like Scarlett. Dad tried to stay neutral, but it was clear he worried more about Scarlett's unstable career than my growing success. The last time I had spoken to Scarlett was before my social media break. She had called asking if she could borrow $5,000 to pay for headshots and acting classes. I said no because I had lent her money countless times before and she never paid it back. She hung up on me, and I figured she was just being dramatic as usual. Now, staring at this message from FitLife Supplements, I felt a chill run down my spine. I opened Instagram for the first time in months and nearly dropped my phone. There I was, or someone who looked exactly like me, posting workout videos in an apartment I didn't recognize. The account had my name, my bio, my verification badge. But these weren't my posts. In the most recent video, posted just hours ago, the woman who looked like me was demonstrating a deadlift with terrible form while recommending a pre-workout supplement I had never heard of. I scrolled down and saw months of content I had never created. Photos of me, or someone who looked like me, in clothing I didn't own. Workout routines I would never recommend. Product endorsements for brands I had never worked with. The comments were brutal. Sienna, what happened to you? Your form is terrible now. This doesn't seem like the same person. Are you okay? I used to love your content, but lately it feels fake. Why are you promoting these sketchy supplements now? My hands were shaking as I called my assistant Emma. She picked up on the first ring even though it was barely dawn. Sienna, oh my God, I'm so glad you called, Emma said, her voice tight with stress. I've been trying to reach you for weeks, but Maya said you were still offline. Something weird is happening with your account. What do you mean weird? I asked, though I was starting to understand exactly what was happening. Someone changed the passwords to everything. Your Instagram, your email, your business accounts. I haven't been able to post anything for 2 months. And the content that's going up, it's not the photos and videos I took before you left. Someone else is running your account. The pieces were falling into place in the most horrible way possible. Emma, I need you to start documenting everything. Take screenshots of every post from the last 6 months. I think I know who's doing this. Do you want me to try to report the account as hacked? Emma asked. Not yet. I need to understand how deep this goes first. I spent the next several hours going through every post on what used to be my account. The person impersonating me had been clever about it at first. The early posts from my break were generic enough that they could have been content I had scheduled in advance. But gradually the posts became more elaborate, with workout videos and product endorsements that were clearly new. What made it so convincing was that this person had access to old photos and videos I had never posted publicly. Pictures from family vacations, behind-the-scenes footage from photo shoots, casual selfies I had only shared privately. There was only one person who had access to that content. I called Scarlett's number, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried texting her but got no response. Finally, I called our mother. "Sienna, honey, how are you?" Mom said, sounding surprised to hear from me. "Scarlett said you were taking some time away from social media, but I've been seeing your posts. That workout video you did yesterday was really good." My blood ran cold. "Mom, I haven't posted anything in months." "What workout video are you talking about?" There was a long pause. "What do you mean you haven't posted anything? I saw you on Instagram yesterday doing that exercise with the weights. You were wearing that purple sports bra I bought you for Christmas." "Mom, where is Scarlett right now?" "She's been staying with me for the past few months. She got evicted from her apartment in LA and decided to move back home while she figures things out." "Why are you asking about Scarlett?" "I felt sick. Can I talk to her, please?" "She's not here right now. She's at some fitness studio filming content for her social media. She's been working really hard on building her online presence lately. I'm so proud of both my girls for being such successful influencers." The room started spinning. Our mother thought Scarlett was also a successful influencer. She didn't realize that Scarlett was using my identity, my success, my 4 years of hard work. "Mom, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I think Scarlett has been pretending to be me online. She's been posting on my Instagram account and I had no idea." "Oh honey, that's impossible. You two may be twins, but you're completely different people. Besides, Scarlett showed me how she built her own following. She has hundreds of thousands of followers now." I realized that Scarlett had somehow convinced our mother that she had created her own successful social media presence. Mom had no idea that Scarlett was literally stealing my identity and my income. "Mom, what's the name of Scarlett's Instagram account?" I asked, dreading the answer. "Well, it's just her name, Scarlett Martinez Fitness. She's been doing so well, getting all these brand partnerships and sponsorship deals. She even said she might get a book deal soon." My book deal. The $50,000 advance I had been negotiating before my break. Somehow Scarlett had taken over those negotiations too. I hung up and immediately called my literary agent, Patricia Wong. "Sienna, perfect timing," Patricia said. "I just sent over the final contract for your book deal. The publisher is thrilled with your recent engagement numbers. Your posts about overcoming struggles with body image have really resonated with your audience." "Patricia, I haven't posted anything about body image struggles. I haven't posted anything at all in 6 months. What are you talking about? I've been following your Instagram account and you've been more active than ever. Just last week you did that series about dealing with negative self-talk that got over 1 million views. I felt like I was living in an alternate reality. Patricia, someone has been impersonating me online. I need to know exactly what content you've seen and what communications you've had about the book deal. Impersonating you. Sienna, are you feeling all right? We've exchanged dozens of emails about this book deal over the past 3 months. You sent me updated bio information, new headshots, statistics about your follower growth. We even had a video call last month to discuss the marketing strategy." "You had a video call with someone you thought was me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, we talked for over an hour about your vision for the book. You were sitting in what looked like your home gym, wearing that red tank top you always wear in your videos. You talked about how taking a brief break from social media had given you new perspective on fitness and mental health. The red tank top. I had dozens of them because they photographed well and had become part of my signature look. But I had left all my workout clothes behind when I went to the cabin. The only person who had access to my apartment, my clothes, and my home gym was the person I had given a spare key to in case of emergencies. Scarlett. I needed proof before I could take any action. I drove back to the city and went straight to my apartment building. The doorman, Carlos, greeted me with confusion. "Miss Martinez, I didn't expect to see you today. Didn't your sister say you were traveling for work?" "My sister," I repeated. "Yeah, Miss Scarlett. She said you asked her to check on your apartment while you were doing that big campaign shoot in Europe. She's been coming by every few days for months. Every few days for months. While I was healing in upstate New York, Scarlett had been living part-time in my apartment, using my gym, wearing my clothes, and filming content to post on my social media accounts. I went upstairs and used my key to enter my own apartment. Everything looked normal at first glance, but then I noticed small differences. My kitchen counter was cluttered with supplements I had never bought. There were ring lights and camera equipment set up in my home gym. My closet was disorganized, with clothes thrown around like someone had been trying on different outfits. In my home office, I found evidence that made my stomach drop. There were notebooks filled with content planning in handwriting that wasn't mine. Pages of brand partnership details, posting schedules, and engagement strategies. In one notebook, I found a list of my passwords, including accounts I had never shared with anyone. But the most damning evidence was a folder on my desk labeled Sienna Brand Integration. Inside were contracts with companies I had never heard of, signed with my name in handwriting that was close to mine but not quite right. There were payment confirmations showing that money had been deposited into bank accounts I didn't recognize. I photographed everything and then called Emma back. "Emma, I need you to help me figure out how much money has been stolen. I found contracts here for brand deals I never agreed to." "Oh, Sienna, it's so much worse than just a few brand deals," Emma said. "I've been tracking everything I could from the outside. Based on the posts I've seen, I estimate whoever is impersonating you has made at least $180,000 in the past 6 months. $180,000. 6 months of work that should have been mine, stolen by my own sister." "There's something else," Emma continued. "I did some digging and found out that your impersonator has been in talks with several major brands about long-term partnerships. Nike, Lululemon, and Protein World all think they're negotiating with you for deals that could be worth millions over the next few years." The scope of what Scarlett had done was overwhelming. She hadn't just stolen my identity for quick cash. She had been systematically building business relationships and making commitments that I would be expected to honor. I needed to confront her, but I also needed more evidence. I set up a hidden camera in my apartment and waited. 2 days later, I got an alert on my phone that someone had entered my apartment. I watched through the hidden camera as Scarlett let herself in with my spare key, went straight to my closet, and began selecting workout clothes. She set up professional lighting in my gym and spent the next 2 hours filming workout videos, speaking to the camera as if she was me. Watching her pretend to be me was surreal and infuriating. She had studied my mannerisms, my way of speaking, even my workout routine. But there were small differences that I noticed because I knew myself so well. Her form was slightly off on certain exercises. She held her shoulders differently. She smiled too much, where I would have been more focused and serious. After she finished filming, I watched her edit the videos on my laptop and post them to my Instagram account. She responded to comments as me, scheduled future posts, and even replied to direct messages from brands wanting to collaborate. The final straw came when I watched her answer a video call from what looked like a major brand representative. She sat in my home office, wearing my clothes, and negotiated a deal worth $50,000 for a 3-month campaign. She signed the contract with a version of my signature and promised to deliver content that I had no knowledge of. I had seen enough. It was time to end this. The confrontation happened at our childhood home. I drove to Mom's house and found Scarlett in the backyard, filming what looked like an outdoor workout routine. She was wearing one of my sports bras and using exercise equipment that I recognized from my apartment. "Scarlett," I called out. She looked up and for a moment I saw genuine fear in her eyes before she quickly recovered. "Sienna, you're back. I thought you were still doing your social media detox thing. We need to talk. Now." She set down the weights and followed me into the house. Mom was at work, so we had privacy for what I knew would be an explosive conversation. "I know what you've been doing," I said, getting straight to the point. "I know you've been posting on my Instagram account, using my apartment, and signing business deals in my name. Scarlett sat down on the couch, and for a moment she looked like she might deny everything. Then her whole demeanor changed. "So what if I have?" she said, her voice defiant. "Do you have any idea how unfair this is? We're identical twins, but you get to have this amazing, successful life while I struggle to book a single audition. We have the same face, the same body, the same abilities. Why should you get everything just because you started posting workout videos first?" I stared at her in disbelief. "Because I worked for it, Scarlett. I spent 4 years building that following. I studied for my personal training certification. I learned about nutrition and business and marketing. I put myself out there every single day, even when it was scary and uncomfortable." "Oh, please," she scoffed. "You got lucky. You posted some workout videos and they went viral. That could have happened to anyone. It wasn't luck, and you know it. I posted consistently for months before anything took off. I engaged with every single comment. I collaborated with other fitness accounts. I studied what worked and what didn't. I built relationships with my followers by being authentic and helpful." "Authentic?" Scarlett laughed bitterly. "Nothing about social media is authentic, Sienna. It's all performance. And I'm a better performer than you are. If you're such a good performer, why couldn't you build your own following instead of stealing mine?" "Because the market is oversaturated," she snapped. "Do you know how many fitness influencers there are now? It's impossible to break through unless you already have a platform. So I used the platform that should have been ours anyway." "Should have been ours?" "Scarlett, that account represents 4 years of my life. Those followers trust me specifically. Those brand partnerships are based on my reputation and my expertise. We have the same expertise. We both grew up playing sports. We both understand fitness. I have certifications, Scarlett. I have education. I've spent years learning how to help people reach their fitness goals safely and effectively. Have you seen some of the workout advice you've been posting? You're going to get someone hurt with that terrible deadlift form." She rolled her eyes. "Nobody got hurt. And I made $180,000 in 6 months, which is more than most people make in 3 years." The casual way she mentioned the money made me realize she felt no guilt about what she had done. "That money wasn't yours to make," I said. "And it's not just about the money, Scarlett. You've damaged my reputation. My real followers are starting to notice that the content doesn't seem authentic anymore. You're destroying something I spent years building." "I improved it," she said defiantly. "My engagement rates are higher than yours ever were. I'm getting bigger brand deals and more opportunities. Maybe I'm just better at this than you are. You're better at pretending to be me than I am at being myself. We're identical twins, Sienna. There is no you and me, there's just us. We should be sharing everything anyway." I realized then that this conversation was pointless. Scarlett genuinely believed that she had a right to my identity and my success because we shared DNA. She couldn't understand that my career was built on more than just physical appearance. "I want you to stop posting on my account immediately," I said. "And I want you to return every dollar you made from those brand deals." "Or what?" she challenged. "Or I'll file charges for identity theft, fraud, and theft. What you've done is illegal, Scarlett. Good luck proving it. To everyone else, I am you. I have the passwords to all your accounts. I have contracts signed in your name. I have relationships with your business contacts. If you try to expose me, it will just look like you're having some kind of breakdown." The smugness in her voice made me realize that she had thought this through more carefully than I had imagined. She wasn't just impersonating me impulsively, she had planned this systematically. "Besides," she continued, "who do you think Mom will believe? The daughter who disappeared for 6 months and abandoned her successful career, or the daughter who stayed home and worked hard to build something amazing?" I left that conversation knowing that Scarlett wasn't going to stop voluntarily. She had convinced herself that she deserved my life, and she had manipulated our mother into supporting her. I needed a different strategy. That night I called Emma and my lawyer, Marcus Mariano, for an emergency meeting. "This is more serious than simple identity theft," Marcus explained after I showed him all the evidence I had gathered. She's committed wire fraud, contract fraud, and potentially tax evasion if she hasn't reported that income properly. We could pursue both civil and criminal charges. But she's right about one thing, Emma added. From the outside, it does look like you abandoned your account and someone else took it over. Your real followers are confused and many of the brands think they've been working with you this whole time. So what do? I asked. Marcus leaned forward. We need to document everything and build an airtight case. But more importantly, you need to reclaim your narrative before she destroys your reputation completely. What do you mean? I mean, you need to go public with this story, but in a way that protects you legally and rebuilds trust with your audience. That's when I got the idea that would change everything. Instead of trying to quietly resolve this situation, I decided to document the entire process of reclaiming my identity. I would create a video series showing exactly what had happened, how I discovered it, and how I was fighting back. I would turn this betrayal into content that was more authentic and compelling than anything I had ever posted before. But first I needed more evidence. Working with Marcus, I hired a private investigator to document Scarlett's activities. Within a week we had video footage of her entering my apartment multiple times, using my gym, and filming content while pretending to be me. We also discovered that she had opened several bank accounts in my name to receive payments from brand partnerships. She had used my social security number and identification to set up these accounts, which added federal identity theft charges to the potential criminal case. The private investigator also uncovered something I hadn't expected. Scarlett had been working with a social media manager named Derek who knew exactly what she was doing. They had been planning this identity theft for months, studying my content patterns and business relationships to make the transition seamless. Derek had helped her change all my passwords and had been coaching her on how to mimic my personality in videos and written posts. He was taking a 20% cut of all the money she made, which meant he had profited over $36,000 from stealing my identity. This discovery was both devastating and relieving. It was devastating to learn that this wasn't just my sister making a desperate, impulsive decision. It was a calculated conspiracy. But it was relieving because it meant I had clear evidence of premeditation and conspiracy, which would make the legal case much stronger. Armed with all this evidence, I was ready to reclaim my life. I started by regaining control of my social media accounts. Marcus sent legal demands to Instagram, Twitter, and other platforms with evidence that my accounts had been compromised. Within 24 hours, I had my passwords reset and full access restored. The first thing I did was post a simple message: "The real Sienna Martinez is back. Tomorrow I'm going to tell you a story that will shock you." Then I began filming the most important content I had ever created. The first video in my series was titled "How My Twin Sister Stole My Identity and Made $180,000. I sat in my home gym, the same location where Scarlett had been filming for months, and told my story with complete honesty. I explained how I had taken a social media break to deal with burnout, how I had discovered that someone was impersonating me, and how I had uncovered evidence that it was my own twin sister. I showed screenshots of the fraudulent contracts, bank statements, and private investigator footage. But I was careful not to make it just a victim story. I also talked about what I had learned during my time away from social media, how I had rediscovered my passion for fitness, and why authenticity mattered more than follower counts or brand deals. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The video got over 2 million views in the first 24 hours. Comments poured in from followers who said they had noticed something was different about my recent content but couldn't figure out what it was. I knew something was off. Your workout form was terrible lately. This explains so much. I thought you had hired someone else to manage your account. I'm so sorry this happened to you, but thank you for being honest about it. This is the most authentic content you've ever posted. The second video showed the actual footage of Scarlett filming in my apartment while pretending to be me. I explained how she had gained access to my home and my accounts, and I shared recordings of her admitting to what she had done. This video went even more viral, getting picked up by major news outlets and generating millions of views across multiple platforms. The story spread beyond fitness and social media circles to mainstream media coverage about influencer fraud and family betrayal. The third video was the hardest to make because I had to talk about the family dynamics that had led to this situation. I spoke honestly about growing up as an identical twin, the constant comparisons, and how our mother had unknowingly enabled Scarlett's behavior by refusing to see the differences between us. I also revealed that I had discovered Scarlett was dealing with severe depression and had convinced herself that she deserved my life because we looked identical. While this didn't excuse what she had done, it helped explain the psychological factors behind her actions. The response to this video was different. Many viewers shared their own stories about family members who had betrayed their trust or struggling siblings who had made destructive choices. The comment section became a supportive community discussion about mental health, family boundaries, and forgiveness. Each video I posted got millions of views and generated massive engagement. My follower count grew from 850,000 to over 1,200,000 in just 2 weeks. Brands that had been working with Scarlett while thinking she was me reached out to apologize and offer new partnership opportunities. But the most satisfying response came from my real followers, the people who had been part of my community for years. They could tell the difference between my authentic voice and Scarlett's performance. They welcomed me back with an outpouring of support and love that reminded me why I had started creating content in the first place. Meanwhile, Scarlett was facing serious consequences for her actions. The criminal investigation moved quickly once I provided all my evidence to law enforcement. She was charged with multiple felonies including wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Derek, her social media manager accomplice, was charged as well. The civil case was even more straightforward. Marcus was able to freeze the bank accounts where Scarlett had been depositing stolen money and begin the process of recovering every dollar she had taken. But perhaps the most important consequence was that Scarlett was finally forced to confront the reality of what she had done. When faced with potential federal prison time, she agreed to cooperate fully with returning the money and providing information about everyone involved in the scheme. Our mother was devastated when she learned the truth. She had genuinely believed that both her daughters were successful influencers and had been proud of what she thought was Scarlett's achievement. Learning that it was all based on identity theft and fraud was a wake-up call about how her tendency to treat us as interchangeable had contributed to the problem. As part of her plea agreement, Scarlett was required to undergo psychological counseling and pay restitution for all the money she had stolen. She also had to publicly admit what she had done and apologize to my followers and business partners. The apology video she posted was awkward and clearly scripted by lawyers, but it was an important step in accepting responsibility for her actions. In it, she admitted to stealing my identity, acknowledged the damage she had caused to my reputation and relationships, and took full responsibility for her choices. But the real healing in our relationship came through the family therapy sessions that our mother insisted we attend together. For the first time in our lives, we had honest conversations about what it was like to be identical twins, how the constant comparisons had affected both of us, and why Scarlett had felt so lost and desperate. I learned that Scarlett's struggles in Los Angeles had been even worse than I had realized. She had faced constant rejection in auditions, often being told she was too generic or not memorable enough. She had watched other actresses with less training book roles while she couldn't get callbacks. She had been battling severe depression and had started to believe that she had no value or identity beyond being my identical twin. While this context helped me understand her actions, it didn't excuse them. But it did help me see that her betrayal came from a place of pain and desperation rather than pure malice. The therapy sessions also helped our mother understand how her behavior had contributed to our problems. She had spent our whole lives treating us as a unit rather than as individuals, expecting us to share everything and never acknowledging our different personalities and goals. She began to work on seeing us as separate people with our own identities. Scarlett eventually served 6 months in federal prison and paid back every dollar she had stolen, plus interest and penalties. When she was released, she moved back home with our mother and began working with a therapist who specialized in depression and identity issues. She also started her own social media account under her real name, focusing on mental health advocacy and her experience with depression. She was completely transparent about what she had done and why, and she slowly began building a small but genuine following of people who appreciated her honesty about mental health struggles. It took almost 2 years, but we eventually rebuilt a relationship based on honesty and respect for each other's boundaries. We're not as close as we were when we were children, but we're healthier. We see each other as separate individuals now rather than as interchangeable twins. The experience changed my approach to social media and business completely. I became much more careful about security and privacy, but more importantly, I became more intentional about authenticity. The vulnerability I had shown during the identity theft crisis had resonated with my audience in a way that perfect workout videos never had. I started incorporating more mental health content into my posts, talking about burnout, family relationships, and the importance of taking breaks from social media. My engagement rates were higher than they had ever been because my content felt real and relatable rather than polished and promotional. The book deal that Scarlett had tried to steal became even more valuable after my story went viral. Publishers were interested not just in fitness advice but in my story about overcoming betrayal and rebuilding trust. The book, which I titled Authentic Strength, Building Real Confidence in a Fake World, became a bestseller and opened doors to speaking opportunities and a podcast deal. But the most rewarding outcome was reconnecting with my original mission of helping people achieve their fitness goals. The drama and legal battles had been exhausting, but they had also reminded me why I loved this work. I was making a real difference in people's lives, not just as a fitness instructor but as someone who had overcome a major betrayal and chosen forgiveness over revenge. Today, 3 years later, I have over 2 million followers across all platforms. I've built a sustainable business that includes online training programs, a successful book, a podcast, and selective brand partnerships with companies that align with my values. Scarlett has built a much smaller but meaningful platform focused on mental health advocacy. She speaks honestly about depression, identity issues, and the mistakes she made. She's in a stable relationship now and has found fulfillment in helping other people who struggle with similar issues. Our mother has learned to see us as individuals and has worked hard to repair the damage from years of treating us as interchangeable. She's proud of both of us now for different reasons, and she understands that our success looks different because we're different people. The legal battle was worth it, not just for the money I recovered but for the precedent it set. My case became one of the first high-profile influencer identity theft prosecutions, and it helped establish stronger protections for content creators whose identities are stolen. But the real victory was personal. I learned that authenticity isn't just a buzzword for social media, it's a way of living that attracts the right people and opportunities. The vulnerability I showed during the crisis led to deeper connections with my audience and more meaningful work. I also learned that forgiveness doesn't mean accepting bad behavior or letting people avoid consequences. Scarlett faced legal punishment for what she did, but I was able to forgive her once she took responsibility and did the work to change. Our relationship now is built on honesty rather than obligation. Most importantly, I learned that my identity and worth aren't tied to my social media presence or my business success. Those things can be taken away or stolen, but who I am as a person, my values, and my relationships, those are things that no one can steal. When people ask me for advice about dealing with betrayal or family drama, I tell them that the most important thing is to focus on what you can control. I couldn't control what Scarlett did to me, but I could control how I responded. I chose to respond with strength, honesty, and eventually forgiveness, and those choices led to better outcomes than revenge or bitterness ever could have. The fitness industry is still full of fake personas and manufactured authenticity, but I found my place in it by being genuinely myself. My followers trust me because I've shown them my real struggles and my real growth, not just my workout routines and meal prep photos. And that trust, built on honesty and vulnerability, has created something more valuable than any amount of money Scarlett could have stolen. It's created a community of people who support each other through challenges and celebrate each other's victories, both big and small. That's worth more than $180,000, more than follower counts or brand deals. It's worth the difficult journey I had to take to get here.